Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, with our full moon mandala for September the 16th, 2016. So, I don't think I have any announcements to make, so I'm going to jump right into the reading. I do these on the full moon and the new moon. So when it's bright and when it's, oh goodness, hang on just a second. And when it's dark, got all three dogs in the room, so it's hard to say what will happen. And I do it in a mandala style. I have three different decks here. I've got one card from the bird cards, and then 4 cards from Carolyn Misses, and now I don't have, there it is, Wisdom for Healing cards, and then I'm taking from the Animal Wisdom Tarot. And we have some interesting energy here, some that's contradictory, and so we're going to be at the full moon, which is that things have come to fruition and then are kind of passing out. It's really a perfect energy for this time of year. When is the equinox? Did I even have that on my calendar? There it is, yep. The Thursday after the full moon, between the full and the dark of the moon. So, I'm not 100% certain that I'll do something for the equinox, but as I was saying, perfect for this time of year, in the sense that we're at that transition, at least in the northern hemisphere. We are at the point where, you know, crops have for the most part come in, and they're potentially being preserved now. Some things like apples may still be coming in and ripening. And so we are at that transition where things are going to start to fade, or perhaps they already have started to fade in various parts excuse me, of the northern hemisphere. And we have some interesting energy here, as I said. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do a little rattling to start us off. We call in wisdom. We call in the wisdom of our personal experience. We call in the wisdom of all times, of all places, and of all cultures to be present during this reading. We are open to wisdom. We are listening. So I'm going to say, more than at other times, and you will see the time signature on this. These usually are rather lengthy readings. I'm not sure if this one will be or not. It's hard to say, but be prepared. But as I started to say, as I'm wandering here, I'm doing this late on a Sunday afternoon after eating too much, so I might be a little slow. To interpret these cards in your own way, because I suspect they're not going to hang together quite as they usually do or often do. And the reason for that may even be this card in the middle. So we have, this is a harsh energy. This is the Shrike. So our bird card is the Shrike. And this is about ruthlessly, forcefully eliminating some things. But not doing it out of rashness or impatience There may be anger involved, but if there is, it's a righteous anger. It's an anger that serves a purpose. It's a fed up. It may even be an anger in the service of others. But it's not, so it's kind of an anger that helps you engage in a forceful act that is something that you wouldn't otherwise do. And the idea here is that it needs to be righteous, righteous action, not rash action, not foolish action, but we are cutting something out. We are forcefully eliminating something or confronting it for the greater good. So it's about the greater good. This could even be cutting something, I think it's more external than not. Some of you could even be undergoing surgery. But it could also be some aspect of yourself. I mean, it could be a job. It could, really any number of things that need to be absolutely, you will decide in the next 2 weeks. There will be something that you realize just needs to be cut out. It needs to be cut out. And you're going to be deciding when. But this is saying that in the next 2 weeks is a time that is good for this. If there's ever a time that's good for that. And the first card that we have reinforces that. It says, act rather than wait. And here we have, you see, here are 2 of our arches right here. You have this vine, this arch of a vine, which I think is intended as Christian symbology here. The the crown of thorns. But we also have this arch of a clock here, act rather than wait. It's saying it's high noon. It's high noon at the OK Corral. It is time to act. It's time to do something. It's not time for decisions. It's not time for mulling, daydreaming. It is time to act. Act rather than wait. When they talk about this bird, apparently shrikes will actually impale their prey on something like a thorn or barbed wire or something of that sort. And I don't know if that's just to hold it for the feast or what that is. Because I didn't research further. But it's kind of gross. It's kind of gross and violent. So be prepared that you may have to act and put an end to things. So there is a harvesting sense to this. Again, whatever you're doing, it's for the greater good. It is for the greater good. Act rather than wait. That is the energy. It's time to be dynamic. And so we have, but again, we have some, I just think timing is somehow going to be important here. Because we have noticed subtle changes. And, we have a lot of shifting, changing, seasonal kinds of stuff. Things that remind us of the seasons. Here is bear. Of course, bear hibernates. And bear has a period when he comes out. He also is a sign of strength and can be very powerful. Bears kind of lumber most of the time or move rather slowly. But when necessary, they are shockingly fast. And of course, they're very powerful. So when they decide to do something, when it's time for a bear to act, watch out. I think this is saying that you have the strength right now to do whatever this is that needs to be done. You have the strength right now, but this is a given period, that it's not going to last, that you are on the verge of another phase, which would be more contemplative and internal. So you're acting now in part because the time is right. You have the strength to do this. It's not necessarily going to be easy, and so you need to use the strength that you currently have. Make the most of this time and this opportunity. Because, you know, there's a feeling that the clock is ticking and that the season is changing, and you need to make use of it. The next card here is Notice Subtle Changes. Now, there are two parts to this. One is externally. In other words, notice what's around you. Notice the subtle differences from day to day, from thing to thing. And here you've got drying. You know, is it dry? Isn't it dry? Again, it often requires noticing subtle changes or perceptions if you're feeling something. Another aspect is to notice changes inside you, and perhaps even how the world responds to you. But one of the suggestions with this card, on the back of this card, there is no guidebook, there's just things on the back, is to engage in your own experiments about, for instance, wearing a different color. Maybe you don't wear jewelry. Wear jewelry. Maybe put your hair up differently. And just notice how the world responds to you. Notice how you feel as a result of that. Some of you might be trying new supplements or something like that. And it's your job to notice the subtle changes when you do these things, when you do these experiments. So it's interesting that we have noticed subtle changes when we have the Shrike, which is like, you know, not subtle, the opposite of subtle, bear and act rather than wait. So we have all this forceful energy here. And then we have noticed subtle changes. Maybe we're releasing some kind of anger or energy that's overdue, and we end up either experiencing changes within ourselves, in which case it's undoubtedly powerful or positive, as we have down here cards that are about empowerment, or it could be the way other people respond to us. And so, you know, after we've made some changes or separations, maybe people are responding to us differently. It can also be that, again, I had mentioned surgery or something of that nature, getting something out for the greater good, that in the healing process, and bear could also indicate that you're going to go underground and need a time of healing. You know, it is very important when you're healing to notice the subtle changes, because sometimes it is not fun. You could say sometimes it's a bear. It's just really a difficult process, and so you have to count your blessings, all of the little things, you know. I remember when I had my hysterectomy, it's like, yes, I've stopped bleeding, yes, you know, they weren't really all that dramatic. Yes, I was able to use the bathroom, you know, I was able to take a shower. All of these things that we normally take for granted became milestones. And I'm sure that many of you can relate to that. Many of us go through that sort of thing. And so here's another interesting contradictory energy. So it could be that it's like toward the beginning of this period, the full moon again being on the 16th, that week following is really the time to act. Do it right then. And then you may have a time of peace. This is a card of peacefulness. Then look, you know, letting the fish jump right into your mouth there. So it's a period of restfulness. And if you've ever seen pelicans, at one time I lived right alongside the Yellowstone River in Montana, and they have pelicans there on the river, and they cruise. They just cruise. They don't appear to be making any movement, and I'm talking in the air, not the water. They just sort of, you know, they glide in the air just like they do, just like they float on the water. So do things with ease and expect to be fed kind of by the universe is kind of my feeling here. So you're going to have a period after this act now in which fish are jumping into your mouth, in which things are coming to you. You're kind of floating on the surface and things are popping out of the depths that nourish you. You know, maybe friends are calling, maybe friends are coming to see you, maybe some unforeseen assistance or help here. And keep in mind that this is a bird that is, again, of the air and of the water. You know, so if you have to dive down, again, when a pelican dives, that's going to be a more forceful action. So if you have to dive to scoop some of this stuff up, go for it. Or dive just to look around to see what's down in there. What's down in, think of this as your emotions, your psyche. But, you know, things are going to come up unbidden as well. I'm assuming that these are good fish. Maybe there's some bitter fish as well. I don't know. But this is a more restful energy than this, certainly. And then we have become better. So again, it's like, you know, some of you may be undergoing a surgery or know somebody who is undergoing a surgery or some kind of difficulty, and you are kind of overseeing the process. If you're a doctor, you may be lancing something. Now, that's a very literal, feeling better would be very literal, but this is a card of continued personal development is really what the larger theme of this card is. So it's like you have your rest and good things are coming to you, and this is asking you to look ahead. Look ahead. What's next? You know, how can you develop yourself further to make yourself stronger? And it doesn't, you know, it can be physical strength, but and that would be in case of illness. It would be physical strength. But this is more about, you know, who you are as a human being. How can you become better? I don't think there's a lot of pressure here. I don't think it's a lot of judgment in terms of you not being a good person already. It's kind of like new horizons. What will be your new horizons? Take a look. If you have some rest time, look ahead to some new horizons. Maybe get some additional training, even if it's like a hobby or something. And then we have, back to energy, then we have the 8. what is traditionally the 8 of Wands. And again, another very powerful animal. This is Jaguar. And so top and bottom, we have these really powerful animals. And traditionally, this is a card of messages. This is really a very different card, though, than the traditional 8 of Wands. And with this here, I'm feeling like a magician energy here. Almost a cross between the magician and the moon. The idea here is, you know, that this is an animal, especially since we have a black jaguar, that is comfortable with the night, comfortable with the unknown, because it has everything it needs. It knows that it's powerful. It knows that it's Lord of the jungle. But this, you know, you can see that these are actually firebrands here. And so I think that this cat has kind of a way to light up the darkness, light up the night in some respect. And my thinking is with passion. It's like if you were walking through the woods. You're walking through the woods, maybe the jungle. It's at night, and up ahead you see light, or you see torches, and you kind of hide out behind a tree to see what's coming, what's going on, and you see this powerful, magnificent animal strolling through the woods, just sort of bringing the light along with him. So I'm thinking mastery, masterfulness. With this become better, I'm starting to feel now, you know, maybe you're going to be teaching something. Because, as I said, kind of lighting the darkness, I'm thinking now, for others somehow. Lighting the darkness for others. And I'm going to say striking a path, striking... I don't know, I feel like you're cutting a path, cutting the way, creating a way for others to follow you. So maybe one of our swords is a machete here. Maybe we're at the machete point. Again, traditionally this is a card of communication, so potentially communicating some ideas or information that helps other people navigate a dark period in their life, or just something that isn't known to them. You can show it to them. The next card is choose to empower yourself. And here we have a young lady. So we have become better. So this could be you, this jaguar. It could also be that you are joining a professional forum. You might be joining something that helps you see what you need to do. There's a very real possibility of that. And yeah, information to make a decision, I'm kind of feeling, because here choose to empower yourself, or because I'm ending up reading this backward, empower yourself to choose. And that's why I thought, yeah, maybe some of us are, in fact, since I'm reading it backwards, maybe some of us are in fact gathering information, or needing, you know, are feeling in the dark, and Jaguar is going to bring us some information. You know, becoming better is maybe seeking that information, what you need to know, that there's maybe something that you don't know that you need to find out. And here you see someone, she's kind of in the spirit of the card. I think she's kind of playing with her identity. She's trying on different hats to see, in this case, which one makes her feel most energized, most empowered, most authentically who she is. So again, to me, we have some playful energy coming back in. It's like we have the serious stuff to start, then something that's, you know, asking for our attention but is a little lighter, and then something that is kind of happy and restful. Then again, kind of getting more serious here, needing to pursue something. And then kind of in the same spirit as these two cards, but lighter, is this. It's being a little bit more playful, maybe feeling that we got what we needed out of this, or are feeling more secure as a result of it. And so we're feeling able to be a little bit more playful. This might be, you know, what am I going to do next? Questions. What am I going to do next? Some of you may end up in a career change and you're trying to decide what path you want to take. It may be a hobby. It may just be a shopping spree. It may just be a shopping spree that makes you feel more empowered. Like clothing, outfit. And that has to do, I think, to some extent with the idea of timing. Where are you at in your life now? You know, maybe that's part of what's being cut out here, is old identities, things that aren't quite true for you anymore. And so it's like, I need a wardrobe, a lifestyle to suit who I am now. Perhaps in a new, with this card, perhaps at a new spiritual stage in your development. And so you're needing to make some changes here. Even though I take kind of a more psychological approach to these cards, this could even be act rather than wait, cleaning out the yard, you know, rearranging the furniture. Notice subtle changes as you rearrange the furniture. Understanding that you have the strength or the opportunity to do this now. Again, perhaps yard work, doing something in the house. And at another period, you might not. You know, in the southern hemisphere, maybe it's spring cleaning time. And reminders of the cycle here. And then rest. And then look how you can make the situation better. Gather information. Make some changes. You know, maybe what you're doing here is bringing out the winter or spring clothing, depending on what hemisphere you live in. So those are more practical day-to-day interpretation of some of this energy. And the cutting things out, again, can be simply harvest. Though this is more a card of elimination, but there is the fact that once you've picked all the fruit, you generally either grind the remaining foliage into the ground or you put it in a compost pile, whatever you do. Finally, we have the very friendly dog energy, loyalty. Just a minute, I'm having dog problems right now. No, you leave that alone. Just relax. It's impossible. I don't know why I say just relax. It's just not part of her. repertoire. It's not her personality. That's my terrier. Okay, so the dog energy here is, of course, loyalty. It's about family. It's about family. It's also making a safe place for the family. There's guardianship here. Okay, guarding a safe place for the family. This is would traditionally be the Ten of Pentacles, and there's an amusing role reversal, you might say, here. In the traditional Ten of Pentacles, you have a human family that has a pet dog, and here you have a family of dogs that has a pet human. We also have in this arch, I feel, also the march of seasons, the march of time there. I know that, engineering-wise, you make an arch so that things will sit like this without it being necessary to even have mortar. You can have freestanding arch like that. But in this card, to me, the symbology here is kind of the waxing and waning of a season. And so I think this does reiterate with this here at the top that this is a particular time. This is a particularly ripe time for this security and family gathering or guarding certain members of your family. Nurturing each other in a safe environment. Nurturing each other in a safe environment. You guys have to let me know if anybody's expecting puppies. This is not, I would say, this is not traditionally a card of pregnancy or childbirth or anything, but it is a card of more matured family, I won't even say development. You might say in terms of our cycles, we're aware of the cycles of life. Because this card traditionally shows, again, children. It shows two adults who are the parents of the children, and then it shows an old man with the dog. So the idea is that everybody in every stage of life is represented and is protected and secure in that environment. So it's nice that we end this. It's kind of a restless 2 weeks with many phases, kind of. But we end it with a feeling of security. And that everybody is protected and taken care of. So there you go. I made it under an hour. So, I think that's it. I think that's it for our full moon reading. Again, I am feeling, if I can fit it in and remember to do it, I am feeling drawn to an equinox reading. So expect that. That'll be the following week. Yep. So expect that next week, because I'm just feeling very drawn to that. Alrighty, everybody, have a good 2 weeks. Good luck managing all of this. It's always interesting to hear, if you want to leave comments, how these different cards struck you and how you think they will apply to you. And you can always stop by in 2 weeks and let me know if any of these cards ended up representing things happening directly for you. I do see ways that it could potentially be indicating things in my life. So let me know. Bye-bye.